You're listening to the Get Off My Soapbox podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We want to make the world a better place and share life-educated opinions and have discussions on various topics. Welcome your host. He is a jack of all trades, master of none, and always wants to know, how's your integrity today? Mad Morgan!
Welcome to Get Off My Soapbox, episode 10. Hey, I'm your host, Mad Morgan, and it is Wednesday, folks. It is Wednesday evening. It is time for the big show of Get Off My Soapbox. Hey, thank you very much for tuning in today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for showing up this evening. It has been quite the week since we discussed things since our last show of last week, last Wednesday. And yeah, I've been sick for the past week, so that's kind of sucked. But here I am. I'm still alive. I pulled through. I got through the cold, which is good because, well, you know, with COVID and everything the last 2 years, and the fact that I managed to stay healthy for the last 2 years, the fact that I actually got sick now, when supposedly, you know, it's supposed to be the safe time. Now it's the safe time. We're supposed to be through the COVID. We're supposed to be beyond this. Everybody's, you know, the world has magically went back to normal, according to a lot of people seem to think that the world's back to normal, and all the conspiracy theories when it came to COVID being fake or whatever BS people want to spill and talk about. But yeah, supposedly the world's magically back to normal. That's just because, you know, I ended up sick for 5 days. Well, that could have just been a flu or a cold, or I think it was more a cold, like a sinus cold, but it might have been COVID. I don't know. I didn't check it out. But okay, enough about that. Hey, how is your integrity today? How has your integrity been all week, last week, up till now, since we've talked last, since you've been around? How is your integrity? Are you being the positive change the world needs? Hey, be the change the world needs for the better. Let's make a positive change. And before we get into today's show, well, let me just discuss what we're going to do with today's show. So I haven't really thought about a topic. So this is going to be titled This. And this is going to be an ongoing series for when I can't think of actual topics specifically that I want to discuss. Yes, this is going to be a series. It's going to be called, are you ready for this? It's going to be called This. What is going on with the day today? Okay, all right. So you with me so far on this one? What is going on with the day today? That is what this series is going to be called. And I just edited it right there because I missed the is word. So what is going on with the day today? This is going to be volume 1, and that is our topic for today. So thank you for joining me. And hey, it's also episode 10 of Get Off My Soapbox. Not, you know, I mean, our daily show is into the 50s at this point, but yes, this is episode 10 of Get Off My Soapbox for our big show, our Wednesday night evening show, and our long show. So that is what this series is going to be. This is what we're starting, and we're just going to be talking about what's going on in the world and how I'm viewing the world and stuff I've come across, stuff I've seen, just random stuff. We're going to cover some headlines. We're going to cover stuff that's out there. We're going to cover the general feel of what's going on in the world right now, from the way I'm viewing it, from the sense I'm getting when I see people's reactions, and I see people out there when I'm going shopping or running errands or whatever. And I'm just going to share that with you. And I would like to hear your views and what you're experiencing, what's going on in your side of the planet, what's going on in your world. And you know, you can head on over to Twitter at @MadSoapbox. Let me know, you know, send me a DM or post a tweet, post a comment. You know, I'm going to actually make a better forum than the Twitter, but right now we got the Twitter. So share your views. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love some feedback. Some of you have been sending me emails, and I do appreciate that, but I'd love your feedback to hear what you have to say about our shows and our topics and what your views are on. And what, especially with this series of what's going on with the day-to-day. Hey, I'd love to know what's going on in your day-to-day. That would be cool. I would love to know what's going on in your day-to-day, what's going on in your neck of the woods, and how you're viewing the world from your side. Because I know I'm fortunate enough that, yeah, I'm in Canada. And although my view is that Canada is not the greatest as it used to be, and I know that's not very patriotic of me, but I really don't give a rat's ass. The reality is that Canada, in my opinion, has went downhill since I was a kid. It's not the same great country. There's a whole bunch of instability. It's in the last couple of years with the whole COVID thing and these free dumb protests and everything else, has really went to the crapper. But, you know, I'm just giving you, you know, my viewpoint of what I've seen. And I've seen a lot of hell come over the last 30 years in even the capital of Ottawa. And because, I mean, I'm in that neck of the woods. And so seeing everything that's going on and witnessing everything over the last 20, 30 years, yeah, it's the world's a different place now. It really is, unfortunately. So anyways, this is our series for today. Hey, you know what? If you get an opportunity, get off the couch, go over to the computer or on your phone, either one. Go check out GetOffMySoapbox.com if you would. Check out our FAQ section. Check out our links to our other media platforms and our other sources of information we have up there. Feel free to do so. Lend your support if you can in any form or fashion. Tell people about the show. Share our shows. Share our links. Head over to Patreon if you're so inclined. If you have the means to give us a few bucks to help us with our monthly costs, we do appreciate that. It is very much appreciated. And thank you very much for those that actually have supported us along the way and made some donations and help fund the show, because there is a monthly expenses to what we do. And, you know, other than the initial investments, it's a bill. It's adding up. That we do it for the love. We do it for the passion. We do it because we want to be here for you. But, you know, if you could help us out a little, great. If not, hey, just tell people about us. We would appreciate that as well. Share the show, talk about the show, review the show, comments on the show. I would appreciate that. You know what? It all helps. It's all relative. If it's not a few bucks, then hey, just tell a few people. We'd love that. I would love that. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. And today, this is what we're going to go over. We're going to go over what's going on in the world. And let's start with my little world. I know I'm bouncing all over today, but I'm still getting over being sick from the last week. My little world is just the day-to-day, taking care of family, doing what I can. But today, I had a shocker. In all the chaos that's been in the last week of me being sick, today I think I found a kissing bug on my wall in my bedroom. And I haven't identified it yet, but if you Google kissing bug, you'll see how ugly these things are. And I'm waiting for the results from the pros that know about bugs to find out whether or not this is a kissing bug, because that might be a little bit of a concern. I don't know if you've ever seen a kissing bug, but supposedly they can be lethal, but they can not be lethal. It all depends on whether or not they have a certain, I don't know, something that they're infected with or whatever within them, and they bite you and blah, 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 blah. Little bit of a concern, but excuse me, let me clear my throat here. So a little bit of a concern, but we'll have to see how that goes. Other than that, I mean, I spent the morning at the hospital with my daughter getting a cast on. That was interesting, and it's just been up and down. But you know what I'm seeing in the world today, and this is one thing I've been seeing a lot lately. Everybody has just become, for the most part, a bunch of assholes, uncourteous, in a rush, rude. The drivers are the worst. Nobody's being patient. And you know, it really baffles me. And I know this is my pet peeve. If you've been following along for a while, you understand. My pet peeve is bad drivers. I despise bad drivers. And these people that think the rules don't apply to them. Like, there's laws. Look at the signs. Read the signs. If you don't know what the signs say, get the hell off the road. All right? You know, see, if I worked in that level of law enforcement, you know how many tickets I'd be giving out by how many assholes I see on the road each day? And you know, it's these people that don't think ahead either, right? I mean, do you only look at your front of your hood of your car when you drive? I don't think so. People should be looking what's going on in the distance. What's going on about 3, 4, 5 cars ahead of me? That's something that people should be looking at. Some people don't do that. They're like so caught up in themselves and their own little environment and their own little driver's seat and their little vehicle, and they're, you know, trying to get ahead of everybody else, that they don't really think ahead, and then they end up looking like complete morons because they're not signaling, or they get cut off, and then they get pissed off because people don't let them in because they screwed up, but they expect everybody else to be responsible because they screwed up. So, or they intentionally knew that they were going in the lane they shouldn't have, but they're pissed off because they did bad, they did wrong. They're pissed off that other people aren't helping them cover up their stupidity. I've seen a lot of that stuff, and I just want to smack these people. Like, seriously, get the hell off the road. I had a woman today that actually, my lane was coming to an end, and I did pre-plan, but I haven't been down this road in like 10 years. So in part of the city I was in, I didn't realize the lane I was in was being forced into a left turn, because memory serves from last time I was out that way, that lane went straight, or the option to turn, but this is now changed. So it was not an option to turn, it was you had to turn. So I put on my signal like any responsible, professional, good driver will do, is they will use their blinkers or their signal. and give ample time and make sure that the driver that you're trying to actually get merge into the lane and in front of acknowledges and realizes you're trying to do this so you don't cut them off like some douchebag. And, I respectively did that. Well, for some reason, this driver was really bent out about the shape, but the fact that I managed to skillfully maneuver my car within enough distance in front of them and the first opportunity they had to get ahead of me. No apparent reason. They just wanted to be in front of me. They didn't gain any ground other than at the first opportunity they had to get right in front of me. Because heaven forbid, how dare I be in front of them? One car length. Woohoo! Oh, I tell you, it is just crazy out there. Oh, and don't even get me started. So I'm at the hospital. As I mentioned, my daughter was getting a cast on, and there's this parking outside the front of the hospital, and it's pretty simple to understand the parking. It's on a diagonal. There's lines. Every kid knows how to color between the lines in a coloring book, but these people that don't know how to park between the lines. And I'm seeing a commonality when it comes to bad drivers. And I'm seeing a huge commonality, especially recently. I'm seeing a big common thing when it comes to bad drivers. And that is basically when you see a bad driver, look at their vehicle. Then look at the driver. Are they posting anything on their vehicle? Okay. And then look at how the driver looks and then go, oh, okay, now it all makes sense. So there's this pickup truck there, and he's got the Freedom Convoy stickers on there. Woohoo! And this idiot is parked over the line majorly to the point where he's almost diagonally crisscrossed to it. No rhyme or reason, pretty obvious, and just one big yahoo. Didn't even make an effort to actually correct the damn thing. And this is just at first glance coming up to the vehicle. And then I ended up taking a closer look at the vehicle. That's when I saw all these, F Trump, Trudeau, and Freedom Convoy, and blah, 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 and all this conspiracy and all that stuff. I mean, all this, stuff that's going on with all these freedom. It's dumb, not freedom as in the word free, like DOM. No, dumb. It's just dumb. All this freedom bullshit and all that stuff, that stickers all over it. And I'm like, you know what? Why am I seeing so much of this? It's incredible, eh? So you're an incompetent driver. You can't park. You shouldn't be driving. And you're a protester for these stupid movements that have no merit and no particular reason. And I'm seeing a trend here. It seems every single one of these so-called freedom driver, freedom convoy, all the shit that's been going on in 2022 from the last year, the whole protest, Capitol Hill, and then over in the siege of Ottawa, Canada, and all this stuff. I'm seeing none of these people are responsible people. None of these people are respectful, refined people. They're all deadbeats. They're all, wow. I mean, it's incredible. If any of them actually rolled up and actually said an educated type of an opinion on something, I would be shocked, because I have not seen that. I have seen nothing but boisterous, childish antics and tantrums. So I saw this guy, the truck, the parking job, and then look at the driver. I'm like, okay, it all fits together. I bet you if I never saw the driver and I saw the truck in the parking lot, I bet you I could match up the driver with the truck without seeing the fact that they were together. So that made for an interesting day so far when it came to that. So this the last week. All right. So I'm sick this past week, which kind of sucked because it all through the weekend, right? From Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the way to Monday. Boom. It just really sucked. But when you have these times that you're sick, your only focus, of course, is getting better. But then you catch glimpses of what's going on in other parts of the world. And you want to try to keep up, but you kind of don't either because it's kind of depressing. Has anybody ever noticed that news is always depressing? Usually. There's no news but good news, they always used to say. And it just, part of me, I spend most of my time being worried about being sick and getting better. But other parts of me are looking at all this craziness that's going on in the world, and it almost seems surreal Like, I know I mentioned it before, alternate universes and everything else, but I kind of honestly think I'm still in that parallel universe, that alternate universe. The fact that I'm actually seeing Russia at war, trying to completely obliterate Ukraine, and then try to sell it to the world that they were justified in their actions, and then get pissed off about the fact that the rest of the world supporting the little guy that's getting attacked, that wasn't, no provocation. Ukraine didn't ask to be attacked. They were just innocently living their lives and doing whatever they do, having a nice peaceful life, building their society. Everybody was happy. And then all of a sudden, big bad Putin decides to come in because he wants to leave a legacy, and he decides to attack the little guy. And then Putin gets pissed off that, somebody's coming to help out the little guy that's being attacked by the bully. Putin, you're the bully, by the way, just so you know, in this whole scenario. You are the bully. You're the one that's attacking a little country for no apparent reason, other than the fact that you want to leave some legacy. You think this is going to leave you as a legend in the books. You're going to be remembered like Lenin or Stalin or all these other Russian heroes. Your own people don't like you, other than the people that you threatened and brainwashed. Wow, this political polling, and I don't understand it. It's over land. It's over land and positioning for whatever reason. How do you think you're going to get away with this? Okay, so now Putin's threatening nuclear. Again, I think I've had this discussion before when it comes to nuclear. There's no winners when it comes to nuclear. You start playing the nuclear card and those things start flying. As soon as the first one starts flying, everybody starts flying. Before you know it, it's over. So, Mr. Putin, if you're listening, just so you know, that's a stupid card to play. Because you're not winning, because you're not getting your own way, don't be playing the nuclear card, all right? Be smart about it, because as soon as you start playing that nuclear card and things start flying, the world's over. And you know what happens when the world's over? You know this legacy you're trying to build? It's not going to be remembered because there's not going to be anybody to remember you. Because you would have been the one that caused the destruction of the world. Think about that for 1 second. If you want a legacy, do the right thing, pull out Ukraine, give back the countries that you bullied and attacked for no reason. Give them back their lands, and people will probably remember you a lot better because you actually came and you got a consciousness and you started thinking about it and saying, hey, that was a stupid idea. I'm going to fix this, and then go from there. Just saying, keep that in mind, something you might want to consider. But I don't understand, like that song lyric goes, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah, say it again. It's true. There is no benefit to war. Okay, maybe in developing times, maybe thousands of years ago when societies were forming, I can understand that, but that was a different kind of war back then. That was actually kind of an honorable war because you kind of faced your enemy. You were face to face with them. You weren't fighting them from a distance. You weren't just duking them out of nowhere. That was war. That was combat. That was honorable. What's going on now with technology is not honorable. Putin, you're an idiot. Stop it. Pull out of Ukraine. Admit that you screwed up. There's no reason to gain more land these days, people. Make use of the land you have. Do you realize some of the countries that actually have so much land and how much land they're not using? It's incredible. The human population, for some reason, seems to gravitate towards highly populated areas. But if you stretch them out, there's plenty of land for everybody, and plenty of land for development, and plenty of land for everything to live comfortably. Utilize things better, the property better. Russia has too much friggin' land. Look at them on a map. They have tons of land, tons of land. There's no reason they need more land. They don't need Ukraine. Putin, pull out. Stop being stupid. Really, because the rest of the world's not going to forgive you unless the rest of the world's not backing you up, and you're making some really dumb decisions, which is really not going to help your legacy. I'm just telling you, my friend. Wow. So, other than that, which is kind of concerning, because I don't want to live that reality. I don't want to live that reality at all. I don't want to live the reality of nuclear war. Are you kidding me? There's a no-win situation. I read, it was a book. I think it was when I was in grade 8, I read a book, On the Beach, I think it was called. I think it was called On the Beach. Anyways, it was the storyline was basically about the world after nuclear war. And it was not pretty. It wasn't pretty. Don't think that war is all that great, folks. Especially you yahoos in the States that like all your guns. War doesn't do anything other than frighten people, scare people, and does not help societies grow. It does not help advancements in sciences, and does not help the evolution of the species, my friends. If we are still warring with each other, we are not evolved. If we war with each other, we are de-evolved. We are hindering the evolution of humankind. We are not advancing as a species. Until we find a certain level of enlightenment to move forward and really settle our differences, that's the thing. Even locally, we have to settle our differences, but we're having a difficulty settling our differences, even in small scale, let alone big scale. And that is evidence that we are not advanced as a species because we are still warring. We are still arguing. We are not cooperating. We can't even cooperate with people when we go to the shopping mall. We can't cooperate with people on the roads. There is a certain level of ignorance and arrogance and big education gap and sense of logic out in the world, unfortunately. You have a percentage that is logical and intelligent and can actually see cause and effect. Then you have the other side that's just a bunch of freaking yahoos that are brain dead. If they can't drive, they can't speak, or they can't actually act civil. They can't act civil around other people. They can't even act in a kind, courteous manner towards each other. That's where people are not understanding. And what they spend most of their time doing is blaming everybody else. You know, they're blaming everybody else for all the problems, but they're not actually taking time. That's another thing. Take time to look at where the fault is. It's within the individual. It's within you. You are not perfect. Everybody that's listening right now is not perfect. I'm not perfect. But it's identifying and doing inner soul searching to realize that we're not perfect and where are our weak points that we could work on to improve, to become better. And as soon as we work on ourselves and realize where our faults are, we correct our faults. Hopefully we get along better. We stop doing stupid things like stupid driving and not following laws and rules, and learn to cooperate better and support each other more moving forward and do these things, then we will evolve as a species. But right now we're at a standstill. And other than the unrest in society, crime rates going up because there's a whole level of low lifes coming out of the woodwork, especially because they figure it's a free ride because of all the free money kicking around over the last 2 years because of COVID. So now they don't want to go back to work, so they're going to commit crime, which doesn't help any society. Because you got to remember, when there's crime in an area, people don't want to stay. People don't want to stay. People move out. Guess what? That city, town, that part dies. The economy is no longer there. You're out of business, and nobody wants to live there, so there's nothing there. You literally use up all the resources because people want to move away from that crime. Crime doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't. That's where you have to rethink your strategies. Keep crime out of a civilization. Keep crime out of a civilization. We have to learn to be more civilized so we can learn to flourish and advance as a species. We should be a lot further than we are technologically, but we're not because we're still... Some people's mindsets are still 50 years behind, and we haven't learned to grow up. We haven't learned to put aside our prejudice. We haven't learned to put aside all these really ignorant ways. We spend so much time looking at differences based on appearance than we do, actually getting to what really matters, and it's who is the individual and what skills do they have. Who are they as a person versus visually how you perceive them. So, all right, so back to swing on this, because that's be a much longer show getting into that. Let's look at some other things. Now, coronavirus, right? COVID, it is what it is. And some people are like, well, it's over. Well, even in BBC today, is basically stating that COVID infections are up by 14% in a week in the UK. So it's still lingering, folks, just so you know. Now, supposedly there's a magic cure somewhere out there. I don't know, but just be safe when you're out there. COVID's still a thing. It's still out there. I still recommend you wear masks, but hey, don't ask me because, you know, the freedom fighters say that you shouldn't do it because it's all a hoax. Whatever. But the numbers don't lie. It is what it is. And me being sick for the last week, as I said, it might have been COVID. I don't know. Maybe it was. I wasn't about to get tested to find out. Instead, I stayed away from everybody. I quarantined at home. That was it. I have not been into a public place. And if I did, I was masked up big time. Because you don't want to spread it. But I did the responsible thing for everybody in society. That's what I did. And it's still out there, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's still out there. Just be wary about it. And a lot of countries, like I see that, you know, Australia's ended the COVID isolation rule. Hong Kong to end the COVID hotel quarantine policy. Japan to lift restrictions on foreign tourists. But hey, the Danish queen tested positive for COVID-19. And, supposedly the COVID-19 pandemic is over in the US. And then the UK, of course, you know, it's touch and go. It's interesting. Some say they don't have it. Others say they do. But, you know, since everything's back to normal, I guess we'll just have to wait and see until the next pandemic comes around. What else is going on here? Climate. You know what I find interesting about climate, and that's discouraging, is everybody's wondering what the governments are going to do, but nobody realizes what they're going to do. But another thing that really annoys me is that even the contributions you try to do to actually help the environment, I find it really pathetic that recycling plants don't put more effort into actually recycling stuff. And instead they make excuses. Supposedly, if you put stuff in recycling and there's any sort of food in it or liquids, supposedly they throw out the batch and it goes in the landfill. They don't bother cleaning it up or washing it to get out the stuff that they can't recycle. They just basically, that's too much work. We're just going to dispose of it. Isn't the whole point of recycling to recycle? Don't think of these excuses. If this is an issue, find a solution. Find a solution. Wash the stuff, find a way to cleanse it so you can recycle it, move forward. Because I don't know if people have been realizing and looking at the weather reports lately, but West Coast is getting fires more and more. East Coast is getting slammed by the sea and getting flooding and everything else. There is so much going on. If it's not heat, it's look at the polar caps. I mean, that was a thing that we've been talking about for the last 30, 40 years. The ice caps are melting. Well, no shit, they're melting. They really are. And I don't know if you see the outcome, but I don't know. You read any articles on climate change, it's pretty scary. Media in general is scary. It really is. But I see a lot of news here about, so-and-so is going to go to a summit on climate change, and this person's doing climate change, and this doing that, and this and this. Okay, enough talking. Start doing. Climate change is a big thing, and the everyday person, the everyday citizen in any country you're at should be doing their best to help climate change. Like, okay, so if you're in one of these countries that is affected by the heat waves and droughts and all this stuff, do you ever think that maybe you're partly responsible for the condition it's in where you currently are? Did you recycle responsibly? Were you careful when it came to your contribution to the climate change? And we're talking vehicles, my friends, because vehicles are a huge pollutant. So did you have to use a vehicle? Did you have to spend fossil fuels? Did you have to contribute to global climate, the climate issues? Did you? I hear some places in India are running out of water. And I'm like, wow, okay. But can you, with a clear conscience, say that you weren't partially responsible for that? Seriously, were you not partially responsible for that? Were you always responsible with the way you did things when it came to the environment? I saw a video today about issues in Lebanon and their financial markets where people are robbing banks to steal their own money from the banks because there's a $400 limit per month for people to withdraw from banks over in Lebanon. And I saw this one guy, he had 7 kids, and I'm like, okay, first of all, why the hell do you have 7 kids? Obviously, you don't look like you're rolling in money. Obviously, you're financially having difficulties, but why would you take on the burden of having so many kids if you can't afford them? I've had this discussion before. If you can't afford to have kids, don't have kids. Oh, it's my religious responsibility. Bullshit. Enough with that. Enough with that. Be responsible when you come to be a parent, all right? But, you know, I see all these instabilities, and I just kind of wonder about that. It's like, collectively, when you hear about all these countries having all these difficulties, the question is that why do these countries have these difficulties? And why can't collectively other countries all get together, not just for a media thing to, you know, peacock in front of cameras, but I don't know why collectively all countries just can't help each other out. Like, all sit down and go, hey, you country over there, what's going on? Do you have any problems? Do you need any help with stuff? It's kind of like a help study group. Think about it in that thing. Why can't countries just sit there, get together and go, hey, I'm having difficulties in this area, and then some other country that knows the answer to that can come over to that country and go, oh, that's okay. Here's how you go about doing this. And then some other country has problems and they'll help out the other ones, and not for their own profitability, but just so everybody can help each other out. Yeah, I know, it's a pipe dream. But, you know, for instance, Lebanon's having this, you know, this crisis here. And I sympathize. I know not everybody in a country is bad. And I know there's always going to be bad apples, no matter where you're from in this world. Unfortunately, there's always going to be bad apples. There's always going to be people that are doing the wrong things. I used to have a grudge against Lebanese because I heard of a portion of them would come over to Canada and steal money from us and claim like welfare checks and go back to Lebanon and just have a free payday because they had some system and address set up here where they're getting free money. And that pissed me off as a taxpayer and a Canadian citizen. I was a little bothered by that. I was just like, all right. And for a while, I had a grudge against Lebanese because of that. It really pissed me off that they were ripping off our country. They were ripping off my country. That pissed me right off. But I know not everybody in that country is like that. I know there is decent, hardworking, honorable people. But there's always going to be scum. No matter where you are, there's going to be those bad people. Those no better than shit people that frankly will cheat the system and break the rules and set a bad example for everybody else. There's not much you can do about that. But I mean, I kind of felt for this guy in this video I saw. He had 7 kids and he was restricted to $400 a month. And I was just like, well, yeah, I kind of feel for you. But at the same time, maybe should have been a little more smarter about not having so many kids if you're not in a financial position to be able to support them all. So you wouldn't be stuck in the situation where you're having a difficulty with the banks not being able to give you more than $400 a month. I don't know. Just think about it for 1 second. Something to think about. Oh, I tell you, that's all I see in the news today. I'm on the BBC website and I'm just, this Iranian this Iranian woman issues thing. I applaud them, by the way. I've been watching that on and off for last week. And I'm like, right on. I'm glad to see that the women are fighting back in Iran. Good for you. I support you. I think that's great. Keep up the good fight, because Iran really went sideways and very scary place. But you know what? Women fight. Women are equal to men. I hate to break it to the rest of the world, but yes, everybody's equal. Man, woman, doesn't matter. You're equal. If anything, I hate to break it to you, gentlemen, but women have a lot of points in superiority in a bunch of different categories that men just don't have. Oh, like for instance, yes, I don't know, bearing life, amongst a bunch of other things. Higher pain threshold, more agility, blah, 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 blah. What else do we got here? Wow. You know, it is a slow news day when chess player accused of cheating not backing down. Out of all the news in the world, You know, it's interesting what I also see. I see, it's funny. Does everybody in Africa that's of a military dictatorship ruling warlord always have the same uniforms? I'm reminiscent of Omar Gaddafi and stuff back in the day, you know, from, what was it, Libya or whatever. It's like they all have that green and red and gold type uniforms. I'm looking at one right now on BBC and I'm like, what? Just don't understand. Everybody has, it's like, this is the uniform you have to, if you're going to be some militant dictatorship type regime, you have to buy this uniform. You have to wear this. But I'm looking at the news. It's like, it's the same stuff over and over again. And I haven't really seen much change in the last 20 years. I really haven't seen much change. It's the same thing, and it just gets scarier and scarier. It would be nice if you could actually find a news source that was actually solid, that was actually truthful. But politics are politics, which I find politics boring because honestly, it's all the same. In and out, make false promises, don't deliver, rinse, repeat, end of story. Positioning for power, positioning for money, rinse, repeat, that's it. Left versus right, right versus left. You're wrong, I'm right. Rah, 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 protest, protest. And it's the same thing. Do the dance every 4 years. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible how that part doesn't change. Yeah, I see the medical system is still having difficulties. That seems to be a worldwide thing. The medical institutions are having difficulties. So, you know, if you're in a position to help out the medical institutions, please try to do so, whether or not it's financially or whether or not you're able to volunteer time. They can definitely use the help on that one. Elon Musk was told off, I believe it was, by the Ukrainian ambassador because of his amazing peace plan idea. I think they literally told him right off because of it. Elon Musk, I'm not happy with him at all. I don't understand how people can actually hold him in any sort of reverence or respect. I used to view the guy as, hey, he's going to be the savior, he's going to make the change, but I just don't see it anymore. He shoots his mouth off and does some really stupid stuff, and he can just get away with it because he's the richest man in the world. But a lot of people don't like him. Do not like him. And I don't think he really cares. But he probably would care, because if he didn't have the money, he probably would care. I don't know. Just makes me wonder. Makes me wonder. I don't know. The world is a crazy place, folks. It really is. I just don't understand why it's so difficult for people to just not see the obvious. It's incredible that people just cannot see the obvious in front of their faces. We have the answers. I think deep down we all know the answers. We all know what we need to do. We all know what's right. And certain amount of us have a sense of logic, but not everybody uses it, unfortunately. And I wish we all would. I wish we would all know the true definition of integrity. I wish we would all know that we're all going through similar struggles and similar strifes, and we all have similar fears. But it's amazing how we just seem oblivious to it. We're too busy trying to outdo each other, whether it's on the roads, trying to outdo each other to be in front of the other person, to get there faster because you're in a rush or they're in a rush, and you just have to be ignorant and arrogant and just abusive and a bully on the road and tailgate people to get out of your way and honk and make aggressive moves. And it's not necessarily only in driving. It's also, you know, when you're just presenting yourself walking down the street. It's all a ruse. It's all bullshit. Believe it or not, everybody has fears. No matter how much you try to convince the rest of the world you have no fear, you have fears. We all have fears. We all have concerns. The more primitive of us are still running off instinct, where we have this urge to survive amongst all means, but we've given up mentally because we don't have the mental stamina in order to keep up. So we have this instinct that says stay alive, but the rest of us is saying, I'm done. We turn to alcohol, we turn to cigarettes, we turn to drugs, we turn to all these other deterrents to basically help us cope instead of actually working on ourselves to deal with the actual matters, the issues, in order to make the world a better place. Make the world not just for ourselves, but for everybody. And that's the thing, right? We spend all our time not thinking about everybody else, just about ourselves. What's good for me at this point? Me. Instead of realizing that everybody is doing the same thing. Everybody's going through the same struggles. Some people are so ignorant, though, they don't know what they're doing is wrong. Somebody needs to point it out to them. Somebody needs to help them understand. Because when we can get everybody on the same level, we can move forward. But when you have a bunch of people that are on the very small end of the slope of the actual graph, and then you have a majority of them that are mid-range, and then you have a few that are on the upper range, you got to bring everybody up to the same level of competence and the same level of intelligence, but that's difficult. So the lower population of intelligence is going to commit crimes and going to think being a gangster is cool, and they're going to put loud, obnoxious, mufflers on their cars and think that they're little boys riding around in Fast and the Furious, or do stupid things in traffic, or doing stupid things in the world and treating people badly, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I could go on and 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 on about this, but the reality is we all know deep inside what the right and wrong is. We just have to go about doing it. And we're not going to move forward until you actually do it. It's true, but you have to take some inner searching for yourself and actually look at that and go, hey, boom, I got to do something about this. That's just the whole thing. So you got to get on that. As far as the world goes, tomorrow's going to be another day. The world's still going to be here. The world's still going to be here tomorrow, folks. Keep that in mind. The world's still going to be here tomorrow. But what can we do to make the world a better place? Well, to make the world a better place, we have to start making the world a better place. Starting with ourselves, we have to make the world a better place. And the only way we're going to do that is, hey, first of all, look at yourself. Second of all, where are your shortcomings? Where can you improve? Okay. Do you treat everybody good? Do you treat everybody the way you want to be treated? Excellent. Then keep on going down the list. Is this good? Is that good? Is this good? Is that good? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So now you've addressed your matters. Now let's go help out other people. Let's help people. Let's listen to them. Let's help to understand what they're going through and help them get to the same level you are at. You've addressed your issues. You have integrity now. You're trying to set the example. You're trying to leave a positive example. Great. Excellent. Next, help the other people. And then you start a trend. You start a wave. If enough people do this, because right now, there's a lot of sheep and a lot less shepherds, all right? Very few shepherds, a lot of sheep. So if people help people, it's contagious. It's contagious, and it can spread like a wildfire, being the new positive pandemic. So all these problems that I've discussed in the world today, all this craziness I discussed in the world today, this can be a thing that we can overcome. So look at all the problems that we see in the news and the way the state the world's in. And if we start with ourselves to make the positive change, we can influence that so the headlines will be different down the road. If we all work together and cooperate and learn to work together on this stuff, in a year's time, we could be seeing actual positive headlines in the news, actual positive news for a change. Wouldn't that be great? Positive news versus all this bad stuff and this and that. It would be nice to have positive news. And we could do that the quicker we get people on board, the quicker that we get everybody on track, the quicker we get everybody to be educated, not so ignorant anymore, not so arrogant anymore. People start being logical, start following the rules of society, start following the rules of the road, stop fronting and stop puffing up your chest and being all tough and angry and don't bug me, I'm a big bad guy, don't mess with me, or a big bad girl, don't mess with me, which is all a bunch of bullshit, and this aggressive behavior is not needed. We should be so advanced as a species that we shouldn't be still doing that aggressive thing. Because you're going to get yourself smacked, because somebody bigger along is going to come along and you're going to do that too. And frankly, they're not going to appreciate the fact that you're puffing at your chest. Keep that in mind. Put that behind us, because the world needs to evolve. The world needs to evolve. Not just one person, not just a couple people, not just a little town, not just a city, not just a country. Everybody needs to evolve. But we have to work on ourselves first and then help out everybody else. Learn to communicate more, learn to cooperate more. That's it. And then these news that we touched on today, roughly, that's going to change. There will be no more idiot Elon Musks. There will be no more talk about war. There will be no more talk about climate change issues. There will be no more talk about Hungary and crime and all this stuff. This will be a thing of the past. But it's not just on the shoulders of your government. They're not going to magically wave a magic wand and do all this for you. You have to start with you. You have to work. The everyday person, citizen, every single person, they have to make the effort. They have to make the effort. There's a lot less government than there is people. So the people have to make the change. Be the change the world needs. That's all I'm saying. So how is the world today? Well, it feels a little different. You know, the Queen passed. We have a king now. That's still kind of weird. But the rest of the news just seems to be a rinse and repeat, almost like every other week, until something major comes along. And you keep hoping that next week is going to be better news. My little neck of the woods, hey, for me, I just got over being sick for a week. So that's good news for me. I'm happy about that. Other than that, hey, it all depends on the next project I decide to take on. And the next thing I like to address, the next thing I like to tackle. But don't lose perspective on the fact that we're not all that different, people. We're all individuals, yes, but we're not all that different. We all have the same haunts, the same fears, same concerns. So, I mean, we'd be surprised how much you're so similar to your neighbor. But we all deal with things in different ways. But at the base of it all, we're pretty much all the same. So what's going on with the day-to-day for Volume 1? Yeah, that's about it for this week. Me being sick, family's good, keeping everything together, trying to deal with long-term plans, trying to get them wrapped up, and trying to make sense of the craziness of the world. And more people seem to jump on the bandwagon when it comes to things. I see more and more podcasts every single day. It's like somebody's looking over my shoulder going, hey, wonder what Mad Morgan's into. Yeah, I'm going to do that too. Anyways. Okay. I think my time on the mic tonight is done. I think I'm going to wrap it up. Hey, it's been another wonderful Wednesday night. I want to thank you very much for being here. I know this is probably long, drawn out, but I wanted to try something a little different. I'll try to have a little more substance for Volume 2 when we decide to come around again with doing this series of what is going on with the day-to-day. That's a new series. Also, hey, please check out GetOffMySoapbox.com for more information on this show of Get Off My Soapbox, as well as our daily show of Soapbox Daily, which is Monday to Friday during the weekdays, usually before 12 noon. It's a short format, usually about 5 to 8 minutes, depending. Check that out. And also, hey, all the links on our website you can find. Go over all our social media websites. Check those out if you would. Any support you can give is greatly appreciated. But for tonight, folks, I am going to wrap this up. Again, I want to thank you for joining me for another week, another episode. I hope I didn't get too long drawn out, but I'm still fine-tuning this particular format, but I think I'm going to continue on with this series. Let's me a chance to just vent out, but see what I can do to structure it up a little. Hey, There you go. So for those that join me once a week, hey, I will see you next week. For those that join me every single day for Soapbox Daily, I will see you tomorrow morning. Other than that, hey, take care of yourself. Keep your integrity in check, whatever you do. Be the positive change and be the change the world needs. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next episode.
That's all for this episode of Get Off My Soapbox podcast. Appreciate you tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from Mad Morgan, head over to GetOffMySoapbox.com for links and details. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow so you don't miss the next episode.